there, my beautiful family. I'm so excited to come your way again today. It's a wonderful moment, it's a wonderful episode. Again, Happy New Year. Thank you very much for your support so far. So, on today's episode, gun, 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 are you ready, guys? I don't think you're ready for what's about to come to you in today's episode. We have with us in the studio a young man that has decided to defy the odds and has excelled so much in what he does. He's not just a comedian, he's a comedian par excellence, he's a compare, and he has class, a touch of God, he's fine. No, I'll end it there, don't worry. You're going to meet him in a short while. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about none other but the very Ricardo. Hey, Afwana.
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. Wow, it's so nice to meet you.
It's my pleasure.
It's so nice to have you here.
Okay.
Thank you very much for honoring our invitation.
No problem.
Wow, so Eric,
Yeah.
I know. I'm ready to laugh. When when I was getting ready for today's episode, I said, okay, it's not serious vibe. I want to be very free, and I want to learn. And
Okay.
that's one of the reasons why I knew that you're the best person for this atmosphere, for something like this. So first of all, what's your story? What's Ricardo's story?
Ricardo's story is definitely like the story of every young boy out there who has a dream
Yeah.
and who's chasing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's basically what it is for me. I was born in Ibadan, Oyo State.
Wow.
Yeah, my dad was in the military, so
Ooh, I wouldn't even have thought that. Seriously.
yeah, I grew up in the barracks. I'm a barrack boy.
Wow.
I grew up in the barracks. My dad was in the military. I was born in Ibadan.
Okay.
And then when my dad, retired, that's when we moved to Delta because he
Okay.
wanted to be closer home. 'Cause-
Obviously.
Yeah, so we moved
Men
to
and their
Delta
roots.
and came down to Ughelli. It's been an amazing experience coming here, making friends, meeting
Mhm.
people, and then growing. And it's just been, and then discovering, my art form
Mm-hmm.
and then delving into it. It's just been an amazing experience for me.
Wow, that's beautiful. I
Yeah.
mean, what got to me is the environmental switch. I mean, and you grew up with the hard. That's the old
I will not say so because
military vibe thing.
by the time but I have 4 elder siblings. So by the time I'm like the last child, I'm the last child in my family. So
Aw.
by the time I matured to the point of being aware of everything,
Mhm.
I would say my dad had softened a bit.
Okay, so you did not suffer that
No, because my siblings would always there was this fear.
they had for him.
You
like
understand? But me, I was pretty laid back because I could get away with stuff. Sometimes I would do stuff, my dad would look at me, they go shake your head, they go laugh.
If it was,
And they would
before
tell me, Daddy don't come. Let me even tell you how some of all these things manifested,
Okay.
with me. So growing up, one subject I had my strength in was English and literature. I was very good at that. Very, and I'm all I've been very good at that.
Excellent.
All my siblings, some of them art, some of them in science, but they were all very good at maths. I'm terrible at maths. When I
Me
say
too.
terrible, I'm terrible. I don't want to see alphabets and figures
I
together.
hated formulas.
it does something to
Don't
my
even
head.
Bring it to my.
Do you get? I hated calculation. However, my elder siblings, they are all good in calculations. Why? Because they will tell you my dad is a maths guru.
Okay.
And so he sits everybody down and he teaches them. Right? They will tell you, my dad will finish cover of barrel on your head if you are not paying attention.
And you
But
didn't get to experience
He
that.
never taught me.
Wow.
Do you get? So probably maybe if he had, out of the fear and everything, I probably would have learned it. But when it came to my turn, he was much more relaxed because
Okay.
by that time he was in the midst of civilians.
Okay.
And so he saw, because we grew up in the barracks, everybody was hard on their child.
Yes.
Because everybody,
It's-
their
it's
dads
a
were
normal
soldiers.
thing.
But when we now came to Delta and he was dealing with civilians, it was like, okay, these people are a lot calmer. And so he learned from them and he was just calm with me.
Ah, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, I'm happy for myself. Oh.
No, that's
happy
no,
for
no.
myself.
But it also has a way of forming the tough part in every child.
Yeah,
Such yes,
yeah,
it has the
yes.
good part, it has the bad part, depending on how we meander our way through it.
True,
True. So quickly, have you always been like this? Have you always been
Like how?
the Ricardo that we know now?
Like, who's
What
the
was
Ricardo that you know? Who
like
said
what
the Ricardo we
no,
know?
obviously,
Yeah.
whilst we grow up, there are certain things that opens us up to our abilities,
True.
to the things that we know or the things that we do. So
Yeah.
for you, I would want you to tell us what was the pivotal moment for you? What actually launched you into doing what you do right now?
Okay. So personally,
Yeah.
I'm going to say it out here open.
Mm.
I've never been funny. I've never been the funny guy. That
Really?
was never me at any point in my life
What
growing up.
an irony.
I was never that guy. So I was just my persona, my personality was I was just this really cool kid, no book, they play, he be
Yeah.
around with everybody. He's up to mischief once in a while, but cool kid, my parents liked me. People around would always want
Just
to
the
like, yeah,
flow.
this Ericado, they would want to always use me as, a pointer for their kids and all of that growing up.
Mm.
But I was never the funny guy. Primary school, secondary school, I was never the funny guy. In secondary school, I had this classmate. His name is Jude. Right, we went to IC together. Jude was the funny guy. He looks like Mr. Bean. He could mimic Mr. Bean. Jude walks into the class and everybody's laughing.
Can you imagine?
So that's the funny guy. I was not the funny guy.
Yeah.
I was one of the top students in my class right from time, but I was never the funny guy.
Mm.
To tell you how unfunny I was head boy in school. And they know they give praise people all those kind of people.
No,
Now, serious.
obviously not. So
Do you
especially
get?
when they are heading
Yes, I was head boy, so I was always a serious boy. And how I started comedy was so again, the church is a breeding ground for every talent. I will tell people
true.
every talent.
True.
So my church, I used to attend the Apostolic Church. That's my family church. Grew up, my mom, my siblings. And when I was a teenager, there was this program they do every Sunday evenings. They do it to prevent the youths in the church from going clubbing, partying, so you don't get into those, the other side. And so we'll have like this church get together every Sunday evening. We'll come, we'll tell jokes,
Okay.
you recite poems, people would sing. And so I would, just to make it interesting, because aside singing, I like to stand out in every audience I'm in. So what do I do? What do I do? So I would watch Night and 1,000 Laughs. I would take some jokes from Bobby, from Basketball, I would crack it in church. Everybody would laugh. That was what it was for me.
Wow.
It was just for me a way to just get the event interesting.
Okay.
And then I had this church member of blessed memory now. She was getting married and she was like, you know what? I want you to perform at my wedding. I was like, really? She said, yeah, come and perform at my wedding. I was like, okay, no problem. So I went to the wedding, I performed, and I think they sprayed me like
You
1.5.
remember the amount?
Yeah, like 1.5 or thereabout.
Big break.
Yeah, they came, some people sprayed me, and I was like, oh, this thing is cool. And maybe somebody wants to do an event because they saw me at the wedding. They're like, oh yeah, just come and do 5 minutes for us. Now people joke and they go crack.
Seriously.
It was never my path. I'm not going to lie to you. I wanted to do theater, I wanted to do performance, but I always thought it was going to be movies.
Okay.
I never thought of comedy growing up. I like movies, I like music. I never thought of comedy growing up. But then situation put me in comedy. And then once in a while I started getting gigs and I realized that, I could get paid for these gigs. When I was done with secondary school, I was working in a bakery in Ogeli. They were paying me 300 daily. So they'll gather the money, they'll pay you the total money every 2 weeks.
2,100 every 2 weeks. That's 4,200.
Yes,
Wow.
they paid us every 2 weeks. And I was making that. And I would just go and do stand-up comedy in some of these events. And they were giving me 253K. And I'm like,
okay,
this is 2 weeks money I'm being paid for 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
What's the point?
So,
Do you get?
Yeah.
And it was just playful for me. And then I got into school, I got into Fupri, and I did one event in Fupri, and first event I blew up on campus. And then I was like, okay, I can make this a thing. Yeah, that's just how it
that's wow. That's a good. I love the flow. It's a very good start. It was actually the fact that, in fact, what even like you were not the funny one.
No, I've never been the funny guy. Do you get?
Yeah.
And so that's why I tell people that, when people say comedy is, you have to have the talent. I tell people that, fine, it's cool to have the talent, but beyond the talent, there's a skill
Yes.
to comedy, right? And somebody that doesn't have the natural talent can develop the skill with consistent practice.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of some people just depend on talent. They go up. There are some comedians. They go up on stage and it's what they see. They used to tell their jokes, right? It's good to be spontaneous, but I'm the kind of comedian I like to study.
And you're intentional. That's
Yeah,
the thing.
I like to study.
Yeah.
When I decided to take comedy serious, I bought books. I'm not kidding you. I downloaded some free. I went to Lagos. There's a place in Computer Village.
Okay.
Yeah, there's this particular man I went to meet. I bought about 6 books on comedy and on stage performance from him. And then when I started reading and studying, I realized that there's a style to comedy.
True.
Every joke you see somebody come and say, this guy, this talk mumu talk. Most times, not be mumu talk. There's a study, there's a skill, there's a pattern to it. And so I started learning it because I realized most comedians in this Delta space, they just do the talent thing, truth be told. Because it's raw here. We have it. I think we are the only ones that have it raw here. The regular Delta person is funny. Do you get?
Yeah.
So, and then I realized, okay, you know what? There's a skill, there's an art form in this comedy. How do I make it different for myself? So I just did my studies and started applying the things I researched upon. And that's just it.
It's the intentionality for me, being that in as much as it was something that was seen and appreciated by people, but the fact that you took the extra step to want to learn and study. This is my first time hearing that.
Wow.
So aside comedy and arts, this is actually an audience where we thrive to be more and even all that God has called us to be.
Yeah.
So what's the backside of your story? I know you've shared some part with us, but what actually was the greatest motivation for you that made you to stand and say, I'm going to defy these odds, I'm going to defy the status quo? What was your greatest motivation that spurred you to do that?
The first part, I would say was losing my dad. So I lost my dad. Yeah, I lost my dad in 2010. I was in SS2 then. I think I just started SS2 then. And there's this security having a father gives to a child. And so when you lose a father, it's almost like you're thrown into the wild.
Sure.
And at that point, you have to learn to survive. Survival over everything. Do you get? And so in order to survive, I had to adapt. You see, comedy was born from adaptation for me.
Okay.
Adaptation to survival. Realizing that this thing will pay me much more than doing this whole serious, stressful, physically straining work. And so okay, how do I get better at this so that I can, scale it and get much better? And so that was I would say the defining factor, because
for you,
my plan was never comedy. I wanted to be an astronomer. I love the stars. I love
explore.
I wanted to explore. I wrote my first book on astronomy when I was in GS2. There's this chemistry lecturer, Mr. Andrew Onofivure, Winners Chapel. He taught me at IC, taught me chemistry. He's somebody that can attest to this fact. My friends can attest to it. From primary school, I go to Ughelli has a library. A lot of people don't go there, but I used to go to the Ughelli library every time. That was where I encountered astronomy. So I would study astronomy. I would take notes, and I put all these things together. I wrote my first book. So I loved it. But then my plan was to, finish and then go outside the country, because there was no university doing that in Nigeria. I wanted to go to MIT. That was my plan. I had that at the back of my mind. And I knew, having a father figure, having my dad, we could make it happen.
Yes.
Because by the time I was getting ready to go to school, all my siblings already finished school. So they're not, they spread the money again. We should focus on this person. And then in 2010, I lost my dad. My dad was sick for 2 weeks, and ironically, he passed. He passed in the house, but he was at home. So what that did was open me up for how tough the world, really is. And I saw reality for what it was, and I had to adapt to survive. And then, okay, this is not going to work. We don't have the financial capacity to do this. How do I move? And so I was like, okay, comedy. How do I scale in comedy? How do I become better? That was a defining moment, losing my dad. Then the second thing I would say that pushed me into doing comedy or made me who I am or who I am becoming today is the desire for independence, or freedom, or liberty. So I like money. I love money to an extent, but beyond money, I love freedom. I want to be able to go somewhere and just do stuff. without anything holding me.
Yeah.
Do you
Making
get?
you feel
And I realized that if you don't have money, you can't do anything. You can't. And so the only way you can get money is improve this skill you already have,
true.
become better at it. There are people who are billionaires in the world from comedy.
Mm.
And if you do it well, you can become that. And you have the ability to, I want to travel. I like new places. I like to experience new culture, new people, new religion, new food. I just like to discover. I've always been that kid right
Okay.
from time. But the only access to that is financial security.
True.
And I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this very well to get the financial security to be able to do the things that make me happy.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
just
So
what it's been for me.
that's really a good one. I believe you guys are already. I'm sure your notes are full right now from Ricardo, and we just even got started. Oh
Yeah.
God, oh God. I like this. I like the vibe.
Thank you.
Okay, so another is how do you guys do it? Now, I believe whatever I'm saying about comedy is applied to whatever field you find yourself
Yeah,
in.
sure.
It's a general principle. It's something that if you do, it will work for you, right?
Yeah.
So, um, comedy, or rather comedians, I usually think like there are times that you're going through stuff,
Yeah.
but you have to make people laugh. How do you do that? Because somebody just some like maybe backstage you just received it. I can't imagine the scenarios, but I know it happens. I am into arts as well. But even aside from arts parts, I know it happens that there are some times where you're not mentally balanced or emotionally balanced, but
Sure.
you still have to deliver. The people still have to laugh. And the conflict between the thing is very contradictory. Like you inside is not
Moving,
okay.
switching from one emotion to the other.
Seriously, how do you realize
It's crazy. So like I said, I do study, I do research, and I've
Yeah.
come to discover that you have to be professional regardless of the situation at hand. I've had personal, incidences where I have stuff going on,
Mm.
for example, and you have to perform. Okay, so let me never said this on camera before, but a couple of years ago I lost my eldest sister,
Mm.
and I was in the process of producing an event for someone. I was not just producing the event for him, I was also the host. I was the compere for the night.
Wow.
And I was producing that. And you know what? I got called that morning that I lost my sister. And my brother Lawrence had to like come meet me and then all of that. And then I went home and I was in out of my head because she wasn't fine for quite a while. I was in out of my head and I had to come back. That was like a few weeks to exam safe. I had to come back. But I realized that, people would tell you sorry, 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 and then ask you, hope say you dey come our show.
Yeah, obviously.
Because they've paid money. The
Yeah.
audience has paid money. They don't want your sub story. You're not a motivational speaker.
Sure.
You are supposed to make them laugh. So one thing I have learned to do over time, and I'm still learning it, is to be able to, just whatever it is I'm feeling, keep it down, right? And then bring out the Ricardo people want to see.
That's maturity.
People say I have an edge because I'm a Gemini. There are people who don't believe in all those things.
Okay.
And they don't believe in all those my sign, my this, my that. But I'm a Gemini. And as a Gemini, we have two characters.
Okay.
The sign Gemini is a twin.
Yeah.
There are two parts to every Gemini.
Mm.
There's the crazy part, there's the cool guy. So the cool guy is the Eric. And
Yeah.
so my personal life is Eric.
Yeah.
And then what I do for entertainment is Ricardo. And
Mm.
so I know now how to switch from the
Eric.
the cool guy and then put everything I'm feeling at the back of my mind and go up on stage because it's an act.
Yeah.
Your comedy is not who you are.
It's not.
Sometimes you would say things on stage
That
that
you do not even
they are not
believe.
part of your belief. They are not part of your principle. But the general idea is to make people laugh and make them have fun, entertain them. Do you get? And so you have to be able to take a step back and put whatever's personal. It's not easy, but then you have to because you have a job to deliver.
True.
Right? You have a job to deliver. So I just try to, whatever has to do with Eric, I keep it with Eric. There's not so much about my personality or my personal life out there. There are lots of people who don't know anybody in my family. The best one people can tell you is, okay, yeah, Lawrence, they be brother, or I've seen him with Mr. Jerry or Mrs. Winnie. I've seen him with Kevin Sabi. Finish. I try to keep Eric away Do you get? And then there's a Ricardo that's for public consumption.
Mm.
And so when I have to be a Ricardo, I have to be a Ricardo. Sometimes it's conflicting, sometimes it's very difficult, but then you have to do it. So you do
Anyway,
it.
to just so what exact feeling do you get when people laugh? What does it do to you when people laugh?
Um, I'm
I've been
trying
meaning
to
to
I'm
I've
trying
been
to
meaning to
pick.
ask that question.
You know how it is when you set a goal and you work and then you achieve. It's like when you graduate from school, how people feel like, finally, yes, there's this happiness, there's this joy. That's what I get when I'm on stage and I'm trying to tell a story or I'm trying to, do what I do
Mm.
and people laugh. It shows, first of all, that they share, the joy. Because I feel as a comedian, you have to, as a performer, you have to have some sort of happiness. If
Yeah.
that is what you are giving,
Yeah.
you have to be able to have it because you can't give what you
What
don't
you
have.
don't have, true.
Yeah, have it to give. And so they share, in that joy. They understand the story and they also understand the intention. Because I see a lot of comedians get criticized a lot of time. When they will crack one or two jokes, they'll talk some things.
Yeah.
And instead of people to laugh, they won't analyze what they talk. Say, you're not supposed to talk this thing like that. You're not supposed to talk this thing like
You
that.
got stage, come talk am.
Everybody they sensitive now.
Yes.
You talk smart thing now, they say you did body shame, they say you did gender code, they say you did do this one, you did do that one. You understand?
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful. And a comedian is not supposed to be very careful. The job of a comedian is to pick the serious things of life and make them funny so we can laugh at them. Because one of the ways you deal with stuff is to laugh at them.
Yeah.
That's one of the best ways to deal. If you not feel laugh over something, you not feel deal with them. Now, why the best comedians now those who feel make joke of themselves. No matter how tough their situation be, they go use a crack joke. You go they laugh. But if it be life and death issue,
Yeah.
I did crack joke with my papa wait or die. There's this joke I always tell people they laugh. I say, when will they do my part burials on my first call? They can say, who they breathe. People will laugh. They say, hey, this boy. But it's as serious as that. Do you get?
Yeah.
And I can tell jokes with it because, the essence of life is for us to be happy, regardless of the situation.
Yeah. Even the Bible said it's
Yes.
very hard, like medicine. So
it's very, very important.
So quickly, sorry.
Yeah.
Your previous event, you infringed goodwill into it. Now that part got to me. When I saw it online, I was trying to enter your mind. I was like, what did they do, Eric? Like, who does this? Normally, it's to apart from the fact that it's your gift and it's an art and it's something that's meant to entertain people. Like, what's inside Eric head? Why did he think to this part? I was not there, but only seeing the pictures and the videos, I could feel the heart of the people.
Yeah.
Like, especially that ice cream guy. I will never forget that ice cream guy. I won't forget that ice cream guy. Like, when I saw, no. That what actually made you do that?
So,
infringing. I have to say this now so I won't forget because I said we were going to talk about this.
It's crazy. It's crazy because that entire event, the entire idea, was born out of anger. I was pissed. You know why? For almost 2 years, let's say a year and some months, I had been pitching the idea to other people because I felt, when you are in a system and a system has supported you over time, there's nothing wrong to give back, right?
True.
Let's use the ice cream papa as an example. That man, that's the only job he does. You see him every day in my school. He rides his bike into school. He laughs with people. He plays with people. Sometimes he gives out free ice cream. He don't give me free ice cream. Where? Do you get? And so I had met a few of my friends. I think the year preceding that, I was like, you know what? When we want to do maybe a dinner and awards night, let's bring this man. Let's just do something for him. Let's get the audience the students to just love on him. And they said, fine. And then somewhere along the line, maybe the cash not there enough, because everything needs money to work. Maybe that was what happened. It could not, that person could not do it. I pitched the idea to somebody else because I know I could do it, but I was investing so much into my craft as at that point, and even till now I am, because you have to scale.
Yeah,
so I didn't have disposable income. Even when I announced the show, let me not lie to you, I didn't have the money to do the event. But then I was like, you know what, since nobody wants to do this thing, or nobody is seeming to have the capacity to do this thing, let me do it. Any I want be made be. So I came up, I put the event out there that I was going to do it. I wanted to do it before there was ASU strike that year. That was last year, November last year. There was ASU strike early that year, I think in February or March. So we were at home for 8 months. So I couldn't do it. I had a few friends who I said, you know what, like a friend of mine is a comedian, MC Funky Aboki. He said, you know what, my wife has a cocktail business. We are going to give free cocktail to 200 students on that day of the event. Do you get? Then I had a friend come and say, you know what, I like this thing you want to do because I said I want to do a free show for the students. They didn't even know I was planning to do for the papa. I want to do a free show for students. I have done events in this school. I don't sell table. I don't sell tickets. You know what? I want this to be my last show in this school because I'm about to graduate. And so I want to make it free. They've given me so much. Let me give back something.
Sure.
And that was the only plan. Do a free show and then honor papa. And then a friend will come and say, you know what? I want to give 20K. I want to give 10K. Then I said, okay, if individuals could give this, why not scale this and see if I can get brands involved? So I scaled it, created a proposal, went to talk to some brands. Ironically, I have friends that have brands. I went to meet a few of them. I was like, this is my idea. They're like, they love it. And then I had brands, put in real good money into it. And I was like, okay, now we can make this happen. Okay, can we take it? My manager was like, Solomon, Solex was like, let's take it a notch higher. Why not give something to the students? Let's not just make it free now. Let's give out something. I was like, okay. Like what? And he was like, we can give scholarship, we can give food stuff. I was like, okay, fine. Let's scale it. Let's make it that big. And we announced we're giving scholarship, we're giving our food stuffs, we're giving, a lot of things to students. And some comedians that I didn't want too many comedians on the show because having a lot of comedians, you have to take care of them, logistics and all of that. Because now free show you they do, but now their work. They don't have a 9 to 5. Now their work that they call do. So you have to at least pay them to some level. And then I talked to a few friends, I'm going to do this. Some even texted me, you know what? I go call, man, they do free thing. Oh yeah, more of us give back together. None of them charged me. All the comedians that came for the event. So Kelvin Sapp came all the way from Abuja for the event. He did not ask me to pay him. Do you get? And you want to carry Kevin Sapp. Aside the fact that, he's a mentor, a coach for me. Aside that, you have to do what's normal. But when he saw what I was doing, he was like, oh, he's going to come and all of that. And he made it possible. And I'm just happy, that I have friends. Because not be this life, they say contacts are much more important than money. People don't know that. I had friends who were willing to, latch onto my idea and say, I like this idea, I want to be part of them. Do you get? And we made all of it happen. The papa not even expect them. Say we could do something like that. Because he wasn't, there's this thing we do every session where we'll just pick one day. We'll call it Papa Ice Cream Day and we'll just buy all his ice cream. One of my friends started the plateau. He started it. It's his own drive. One day, everybody just come and they love on him. They buy his ice cream, everything to the ground. Do you get? And I was like, okay, let me latch onto this. Let's take it a notch higher. And we did all of that. And then students started calling, want to give him money. People gave him money on the stage that day. And then when I posted the video, students who have graduated, alumni of FUPRE, a lot of them saw the video like, I want to give. We raised over 100,000 for him a second time after the event. Do you get? So I was just happy we could all come together and do something for the school, for the students, and for the man. Yeah, I was just very happy.
That's beautiful. Okay, so your own style, Eric, of your comedy is different.
True.
So I would want to know, we would want to know what has actually kept you true, because every artist has their niche.
True.
They just have something that is similar to when they come. It's just we know, but yours is quite different and unique. You actually have a unique approach to the art. So we want to know why you're doing that and what has kept you true to your core, despite the competitive nature of comedy. Now we're seeing skits, we're seeing different approach, but despite the competitive nature in the industry, what has kept you true to your core as a Ricardo?
First one, why I believe that every performer, every artist has to evolve with time. Evolving doesn't mean you have to leave your style. It simply means you find better ways, new ways to make your style work.
Please tweet it. Tweet that one.
And so, like I said, I'm big on research. I could go a whole week and I'm consuming material on comedy. I may not be watching videos, but then I'm reading books about it. And so, growing up, I've always liked books. I've been an intelligent, not to brag or anything.
Oh, you don't
But
have
they
pride.
don't say who they carry body, but I've always been a smart
You don't
kid,
have pride.
and
He does not have pride. I'm fighting for him.
I've always liked literature, right? If I had as much awareness now that I had when I was in secondary school, I'm a science student by the way. I would have studied science. I probably would have gone straight to theater arts.
Mm,
But now I've gone full circle. I'm back to performance.
yeah.
So I've always loved theater. I love theater to the part that we are studying literature in secondary school, and my literature teacher comes to class and says, "Ericardo, get up," and he tells you chapter 4 of Silas Manor, what happened between
George Orwell.
Silas and the citizens of Ravello, and I start to narrate from memory, right? I am someone who I love to read, I love to consume, and so when I start to go through all these parts, I realize that I have to do my comedy differently. My experiences are different from the experience of other comedians here.
Peculiar to you. Yeah.
Now, other comedians here, no disrespect, but fairly Worry Delta, they use what they've experienced in life, right? Where they grew up in slums, they grew up and all of that. They want to tell you about Tagbasa Juju, they want to tell you about Okere Market. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's their experience.
Yeah.
However, it's not my experience.
True.
And so I tried it initially because now that kind of joke funny for you. I tried it, it wasn't working for me. For like a year or two, I was floating. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do my style.
Yes.
I like intelligent jokes. I like jokes that you drop them and the audience are like, mad. Do you get?
Yeah.
I like that kind of jokes. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. And I started it. Initially, people know they get it. You go show, they go crack the joke. People go look you.
Yeah.
Hey, which kind of joke be this? They won't catch your punchline. Because, they cannot relate with it. The audience could not relate with it. And so, but then I kept going. I kept doing it. And with time, I started finding out my target audience. And I realized that my target audience is not the older people, right? The older people, especially those in Warri and in Delta State, they relate more with that jokes because that's their own experience. The younger people, their experience is different because of the internet.
Yes.
Right? You can be here and live the life of somebody in Lagos because that's what you consume. And so I went after that audience. And that audience picked it up. My deal breaker was when we traveled out of Delta for an event. We went to a show. That was my first show outside Delta that I did my own style of comedy. And people when the key show for Warri, for Delta State passed me. When we hit that show, scattered the show for where everybody did. And I was like, so this is the audience that understands what I'm doing. So what I'm doing is not even wrong.
At all.
It's probably just, my target audience I need to change. So I switched my target audience. And since then it has just been taking me that way. And then there was a second question you asked. I'm trying to remember the question now. There's a second question you asked.
Oh, babe, I think we may be discussing.
Yeah.
Sorry. The principles that I've asked you that principle that the competitive nature of the industry. Yeah, so I was talking about the competitive nature of the industry and you sticking to Ericardo.
Yes. So the industry is very competitive. And it's so crazy that, your competition are your friends. However, one thing that has helped me has been having the right people around me. So when I started getting serious with stand-up comedy, right, I had Kelvin Sapp. Then I'd been disturbing Kelvin Sapp on Facebook because Kelvin Sapp was big and he's still very big. Kelvin Sapp was big and I was like, I was texting, you're traveling here, I'll see you, he's about to take a flight. I'm like, make her they follow you, I even have to carry bag and stuff. I'll text him, sometimes he would laugh. And then over time, we met at one or two gigs, and then he was like, okay, come around. He's going somewhere, he'll tell me, come with me. Through him, I met a lot of other people. I met Young Chief, I met Mr. Paul, I met a lot of other people, through him. And meeting these people, I realized that some people took comedy much more serious than others.
See?
Right? To some people, it was business. To some people, it was fun. And so I was lucky to have, Kelvin Sapp in space. I had Young Chief too.
So you could say that those people are played like the role.
Yeah, they played
that's the next question I was going to
ask. They played a very important role and it helped me, and it helped me define it and become much more serious. Because they don't take complacency. They will not take you relax or anything. They don't joke with it. I was hearing some ridiculous figures when they had conversations with people, and I'm like, okay. And I saw how important it was. So competing, I don't really see it so much as competing. I just see it much more as expressing. Because if you do your comedy your way, I do my comedy my way. Somebody wants to do a show, they can pick two of us because our styles are different.
True.
That's another reason why I stuck to my own style of comedy, because I know definitely that there are a lot of comedians who do the generic form. I am a thematic comedian.
True.
Because in comedy, you can either be a generic comedian or a thematic comedian. A comedian that, tells their joke around a subject matter. I can come on stage today and decide that, okay, because of this particular show, I just want to talk about relationships. Tomorrow I want to talk about Gen Z. Next tomorrow I want to talk about churches. I pick, and that's my entire set is around it. There are some comedians who get on stage and they'll talk one joke and next minute they skip to another thing. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's their style.
Yes.
If you see comedy shows, some comedy shows are like that. AY Live is a generic comedy show. Any kind of joke can work in AY Live. You can see a comedian talk about the government. His next joke is talking about women. His next joke is about church, right? And the audience will flow with him. Bovie, Identity Crisis, or Basket Mouth, Unprovoked, those are thematic shows. They have a general idea. There's a theme. So my last show was called Ricardo In My Feelings. I did it around that Valentine period. In my feelings, it tells you it's about emotion and what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And so my jokes were about relationships, my personal experiences, and how I was feeling as at that point. I'm a thematic comedian. And so I stuck to that part. And that has been my competitive edge. Because people know if we do our show and we bring Ricardo, there's the tendency for him to be the one who will stand out of everybody. Right? Yeah. And somebody who inspired that, shout out to SLK. Yeah, SLK is someone who I watched, I love. There's this British comedian, Ricky Gervais. Very funny. He does my style of comedy also. Okay. I love him. There's also Dave Chappelle who I watch. And so all these guys, they just help me.
Okay, so yes, you have a way of just linking everything together.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the impact of role models and mentors.
Yeah.
And you've actually talked about that. Now, the environmental factors as regards in our journey of becoming more with what we have. So you have had a huge chunk of the Delta Warri part.
True.
And you've tasted some other parts. So how would you say that the environmental factor plays in our journey of becoming more? How do we handle that?
So I want to start from the very first environment you're introduced to, family, your home. I think every individual we see here, a large chunk of their life is influenced by their home, how they were brought up, how their family was.
Sure.
So like I said earlier, my dad was in the military, so my house was more or less like a command and obey kind of thing. They tell you do stuff, and I was last chance. Everybody they command me.
Hey.
Do you get? They tell you do stuff, you do it. No questions asked. They don't have to give you a reason why.
Why you should do it.
However, they would tell you I was stubborn. My siblings would tell you I was stubborn growing up. But now they realize that I was just somebody who tried to push boundaries. I like to know why. Do you realize? So I questioned my community and my environment early. If you tell me do this thing, sometimes if you not give me a reason, I go do the opposite just so I can know why
you wanted me to do.
Do you get? Sometimes So one thing, and that affected me also because expressing myself was difficult in a way. I did talk, but I did talk general stuff. How I felt, expressing it was very difficult. I could be feeling bad, but they know they carry complaint from my house. Do you get?
Yes.
They say they talk to you, they grumble. Which kind of character they tell you something, you they grumble. Do you get?
Yeah.
Your child needs to grumble. Because if they're not, that is them wanting to know.
Yes.
If they're not grumble, they're not going to know. Sometimes don't just tell people stuff. Tell them why. The reason makes it make sense.
To them.
Now, why Gen Z, they get problem with everybody now? Because they won't know why. If you not tell them why, they're not going to do them.
Seriously, and there's nothing you can do.
There's nothing you can do about it. I was reading an article yesterday. Gen Z was saying that if their boss does not give them regular feedback about their job, they will quit. Because they need to know how good they are doing or not.
Sure.
They want now that they tell their boss what they want.
That's when they pay you.
Do you get? So, environment plays a key role in who you are. I was very, very lucky and blessed that, my parents were together over the course of time, even before my dad passed.
Wow.
And so, I saw that unity. I saw that bond. I had siblings who could stand up for me. I had people who could stand up for me. And that helped me. People will tell you, the way I enter anywhere with this sheer confidence.
Mm.
Do you get? Because I had love at home. It was
Wow.
very, very important for me. I had love at home. One of my elder sisters said, that one will beat you better. So if he boss for us, I know they go call my brother, I go call my
Oh.
sister, my sister go. Do you get? So I had that. I had that protection. I had
Yes.
that love at home. So it helped. And also another thing that helped was the fact that I wasn't born, here. No disrespect to people born here. Again, no disrespect to people born here. But people in every environment, you will see that they mostly behave the same way, right? There's this saying that if you want to hide something from a black man, put it for book.
Mm.
Because black people rarely read. Now these days we dey try. Black people rarely read,
Yeah.
right? And I had that growing up. I had friends in primary school, secondary school who, unless na
There's
exam
deadline.
period, they're not the.
Deadline.
Do you get? I started reading newspapers from when I can recall having sense. Because my uncles then, they would buy newspapers. It was always around the house.
Mm.
I would read. My siblings, they like books. Jesus, my sister and my brother, they like books. Die. So there were always books around the house. So I was always reading, and that helped to stimulate my creative mind.
Yeah.
Give me a topic, I will tell you a joke from it now, because why? I have
It's something
ingested
you fed
so
from.
much.
Mm.
I can create. Your creativity, the limit of your creativity is what you have ingested,
Yeah. True.
right? They say you are what you eat.
True.
So you cannot do beyond what you have. And so having that environment helped me. You would see, like I was talking about jokes people would tell.
Yes.
They'll tell you from their experience. So environment plays a key role
Mm.
in that. My environment, God helping me, was one that was a bit advanced. And even when we moved to Delta, my family were not rich growing up, but my dad made sure that where we stay, the environment around us, a lot
Very
of the people around us, they get money. Most of the people when stay around us when we grow up, they get money past us. So let me tell you this crazy thing. My friends, their parents go buy them books, right? Because the parents understand the value of reading
Mm.
information. They go buy them books. For the children to read that book now, punishment. Because they feel like their parents, they punish them.
Punish them.
Parents, apart from the one where school say me they buy, they not they buy because the money not fair day. So I will go to my friend's house, I will
Collect.
carry their books and read. There are some books I studied later on in school. I don't read them 5-6 years.
Mm.
An example was Last Duty by Isidore Okwe. I read it.
Yeah.
I read it in SS2, SS3. I don't read that book since JS1.
Wow.
But they don't know when we want to study the book, and they play. Before my teacher will talk one, I don't. Do you get?
Mm.
I was to a point I could recite a lot of the book from memory. My teacher then, Mr. Vincent, he did not even study the book again. He will come class, he will tell me, say, narrate the story. After they narrate the story, they use and they teach. He will tell you, this is assonance, this is alliteration, this is. That was how it was for me.
Wow.
Do you get? So I will go to my friends, I will carry their books, I would study, I would read it. Their parents would tell them, not be your mates be that. They would always want to use me as an example. No, but they don't know that for me, it was fun. Una too they play. Not be Eric did they read, but that was my play.
Mm.
But they didn't know. And sometimes when you don't have something, you value it.
True.
When the thing is not yours. Now why we always get problem for relationship these days? But when people don't finally get the person, the value not the day. But when they pursue the person that time, they always do you get? Now so it be. So what you don't have, you value it a lot. I didn't have all of that, but I had friends who had that. So I would go to their house, I would read. There was this friend, he's even my brother's friend, Rosa Claus. They had this big book, it was like an encyclopedia, a lot of stories about the British in it, right? I would go to their house, I would read it from thick book, over 1,000 pages. From cover, that book took me weeks to finish or consume all those stuff. So my environment played an important factor in making me this person who, is so well versed, because I had people around I could learn from, I could glean from.
Okay.
And so over time, I always go after those sets of people. And even my audience as a comedian are those kind of people. You will see I do corporate audiences a lot.
True. Yes.
Because those are the people that can identify with the stories I will
That you
tell
can relate.
on stage.
Mm.
If I want to tell you a story about, I want to talk about Mungo Park, for example, or let Mungo Park even be there. If I want to talk about Flora Shaw, when I was telling people on stage that, person, girlfriend, give us the name Nigeria. They say why Flora Shaw and Lord Lugard,
Yes.
babe. They never married that
1914.
time. If you don't be say Lord Lugard just day one evening, just lie down for a leg, they
Eric,
sleep.
Eric.
No, Lord Lugard say, we dey discuss this thing for consulate, so we don't even know wetin we go call this country.
Oh yeah.
Now she tell us say na Niger area na. Lord Lugard say Niger area, Nigeria.
Oh
He say
yeah.
name don't come outside. Now somebody dey. Do you get? There are some audiences you tell such jokes to. My audience, once you start,
Relate.
when I start the joke now, you don't see where they go, you don't already
Yes.
dey laugh. They could relate. Do you get? So environment plays a very important factor in who you become, you know, and the
Yes.
people who consume your product or service.
Oh.
It plays a very, very important factor.
Oh, Eric, do I want to stop? I don't want to stop, but we have to.
Definitely. Yeah.
So, as a Gen Z,
Yeah.
you're a young man,
Sure.
and I would
Although when
want
they
to.
tell me say I be Gen Z, the thing dey vex me.
But it's the truth now. It's the
The thing-
reality that we have
the thing
found
dey
ourselves
vex me,
in.
eh.
Very funny, very
Yeah.
funny dispensation
True.
that we are in right now. So, what's your advice to the local? I would use the word
Yeah.
yes to the local, because we are daily in our journey of becoming more.
True.
So, what is your advice to the local young man, young woman that is striving amidst all odds to become better daily? That would want to go from local to global. There's this somebody joined the two words
Yeah.
together and said glocal. So that's
Ah,
obviously your journey. It's
True.
evident in
Sure. Okay.
following your precedents from the things that you've been doing. So,
Yeah.
what is your advice to them as a wrap up?
First thing I'll tell them is to study. Study, not in the context of school, because me, I hated the idea of studying as a student. I read like a day to my exam also. But study,
Not so much in common with what we're doing today. But we don't look
study.
like it now.
That's what people don't know, you know. Study because when you study, it opens your mind to more. You know, my approach to entertainment changed when I started watching certain people. I started watching foreign comedians. Started watching certain Nigerian comedians like Bobby, like Basketball. You know, so study, research. Anything you want to do, research, because when you research about it, it will now show you worlds you never believed existed.
True.
And it will
Just
open your
open
mind
Yes.
to more. Right? Study. When you research, you study, it will give you enough information to be able to take steps, to be able to make your moves.
Know where you're
Study.
going, what to yeah.
If there's anything you do beyond every other thing, study, please. Study is very, very important. If you're a young person, do research, go on YouTube, download books. There are a lot of free books on the internet. Google a lot. It will help you. Another thing I would say is be brave. Most times we don't do stuff because we're just scared. It happened to me quite a lot. You know, I feel I would have done a lot of things earlier than I did them because I was just scared. You know, I was scared. I was scared of failing. I was scared of, you know, what people will say. What if because
That one is
Ricardo, if you do anything not enter, you don't fuck up. Do you get? So be brave. I realized over time is, you know, do it scared.
yeah.
A writer I read somewhere, somebody said, if you wait to have all the ingredients you need to make your move, that means you are moving late.
True.
You should have made your move
That's
before
deep.
everything is correct.
That's very deep.
If you make your move when all the indices, all the variables are in place, you should have moved yesterday. Because a lot of the things you
just
need will
naturally
come
fall
on
on the way.
This is the story I was telling you that people started saying, okay, I want to be a part of this, I want to be a part of it. I didn't have it in mind. I wanted to do a small show. The venue I had put was not as big as where I used. I ended up using.
Wow.
It was a smaller venue, and then when people came around, I was like, okay, no, let's use a bigger venue. And then next I was like, okay, you know what? I want to do a special. I want to take the biggest theater in Delta State, movie theater in Delta State, cinema, and use it to do my show. I did it. I sold out in 2 weeks. You know, in 3 weeks thereabouts. Do you get?
Yeah.
And that's the be brave. That thing you want to do, you are scared. Do it scared. Do it scared. If I don't believe there's anything like failure, I believe there's success and learning. I don't believe there's success. People say failure. I don't believe in failure, man. It's either you succeed in it or you learn. Because you do it the first time, you don't
Didn't
get it
work
right.
out.
You now know this is why it did not work out.
Then you
By the
apply
time
it.
you are coming back, there's information.
Yes, yes,
It's
from the
easy.
experience.
Be
Yes.
brave. Be brave. If you want to be here and you want to do phones that work with, that are charged by the sun, solar mobile phones, go ahead and do it. You may not get it right in the process. Somebody go say, "Hey, you this, I get this idea to come on collabo." Bam.
Don't happen.
Be brave. Be
True.
brave. Study. Be brave. And then number 3, Gen Z. This are not supposed to tell una this thing. Una know una they do away. Talk your mind. See, if you feel a certain way, say how you feel. Be respectful. Not be that one that they talk now, they talk. Sometimes how you talk, your tone can be disrespectful.
Yes, the
Can
way
be very
you say it,
how you
yeah.
say it, but learn how to speak diplomatically, but say how you feel. That was something that affected me, communicate. I remember I told you my house was tough.
Yes.
Right? Saying how I felt. I had people over time who did stuff to me that if I was more vocal, they're not going to do.
Yeah.
People who took a lot of stuff. People I know I was even better than, that took me for granted simply because by evidence they were doing better. And so you not feel correct or you not feel talk to person when they are ahead of you now. Meanwhile, they're doing a lot of messed up shit. I'm not going to lie to you. They're doing stuff to me that they traumatized me a lot. I'm not going to kill you for a story for another day, but in my comedy story, I was traumatized a lot. People told me stuff nobody should be told.
Wow.
I had crazy experiences. If I were more vocal then, maybe me and the people for quarrel, everybody for go their separate way, but that thing for stop. And so now I'm taking note of those things so that I don't do it to people coming after me.
Yeah.
I try to be very intentional, not to traumatize people coming after me. But please speak your mind. If somebody they do it to you, like clear them. Do it diplomatically, be respectful, but clear your boss, clear them. Because if you don't tell people, they would not know how far they are hurting you.
True.
They won't know. And human beings have the tendency to overreach. They say if you give people privilege, they will collect full village. Now so it be. If you give them privilege, they will collect the full village. So when people do stuff, speak. If you have an idea, say it. If something happens, you're not comfortable, say it. Either people adjust or they give you a chance. Be respectful, but say how you feel. So 3 things: study, be brave, and speak your mind. Be free. Speak your mind. That's just it for me.
5-10 years from now, what's up with you?
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a whole lot. Just a brief.
Only God sees tomorrow, really.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But
I want to be, the kind of comedian who can export African comedy. You see what Afrobeats is doing to the world right now. And Afrobeats is crazy, fam.
Yeah.
Afrobeats, people are dressing like us, singing our song, eating our food,
learning our
terminologies because of music. That's what I want to do for comedy. I want to export African experience. I was watching an interview. Somebody was saying one of the reasons why Africans don't have a particular sickness is because they go hunting. You are who they hunt. You think this is 1904? That shows you definitely how uninformed a lot of the world are about us. Seriously. So I want to be able to export our African stories through my comedy. I want to be able to sell it out to the world. I want to be able to play certain venues. I want to be able to play the Apollo. Yes, there's nothing wrong if a comedian from Nigeria is playing the O2 and it's packed.
True.
Trevor Noah does it. He's from South Africa. He's African like me.
Yes.
Right? I can be able to replicate that.
Yes.
And it's going to take a lot of work. All these things they sound crazy.
And unrealistic.
Yeah, but they are very possible. And I believe, with hard work and with God, with a lot of God, it's going to be very, very possible. So that's something I want to be able to export African comedy. Should be able to do Netflix. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's not wrong.
Yes, Nigerian comedians are doing. SK is doing it. Kenny Black is doing it. Nigerian comedians are doing it. Should be able to do that.
Yeah.
We should be able to tell our stories to the rest of the world because your story is what people want to hear. That's the most interesting thing.
Yeah.
That's what people want to hear.
However form it comes.
Yes, I want to be able to, sell it out to the world. So yeah, in 5-10 years, Ricardo wants to be global. Ricardo wants to be in everybody's face. I want to do TV, by the way. TV has always been my end goal. Comedy is an accessory, it's a machinery to my end goal. I want to do TV. I really, really want to do TV
You
a
will
lot.
watch this video 5, 10 years from now.
Yeah, and
In
that
the reality of what you're just
amen,
saying.
amen, amen. I have
By
so
the
much
grace
faith.
of God.
I have so much faith in it.
I'm so
Definitely.
proud. I'm grateful
Thank
that we
you.
have you here.
Thank you
Thank you
so
for
much.
sharing your journey with
Thank
us.
you.
You're very realistic to the barest minimum. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for making us laugh. Drop one now, bro.
No, no, they did buy ticket. Not be free
Drop
now. No,
one.
no, no, not be
Just
free.
not for
Not
nah,
be,
nah, far.
not be
Just
free.
drop one.
No, why?
Just one. Even if it's 10 seconds. Just drop one.
They subscribe.
Yes, yes.
That's
Just
where I'm
subscribe.
starting from.
Yes, subscribe. Erica is telling you guys to subscribe now.
Subscribe so we can make money. You know, it's very, very important. So I have this guy, this grab guy in my area.
Okay.
You know how people go watch film, they go want be like waiting they don't watch. Grab guy, the guy watch Avengers, won't say tall, grab big, won't say more not the color for my again. So from now on, in name na tall. I say, bros, why I go call you tall when you never hammer? Okay, okay.
That got for
If
me.
you did not laugh to this joke, you need
That
to study. You're not
got
smart
for
enough.
me. Ah, Eric, how is anything they pass? I'm like, hi, thank you,
you.
bro. Thank you so much.
Thank
So,
you.
guys, I know that you've learned a lot from today's episode. Everything that we said, comedy wise, but if you apply it, trust me, if you apply it to every part of your life, you are just in your process of becoming more daily. Be intentional, study, talk your mind,
Say your mind,
say your
man. It's a
mind.
free world.
Yeah, be brave. And obviously, remember what he said, it's more of God
Yeah.
in your journey. Thank you
Definitely.
very much for
Thank you so
watching.
much.
And a big love to our guest. Thank you so much,
Thank
Eric.
you. Thank you so much
Thank
for having
you.
me. Thank
Thank
you
you
guys.
very much.
Yep.
So that'll be all for today. Thank you very much, guys. See you next week. Bye.